on another minute or two.
The next item on the agenda is the comments from the citizens present. It's limited to 3 minutes per speaker.
Speakers working on forms.
Oh, okay.
The ones that we
Okay, all right. So the first one is
Testing.
Katie Warney. Would you
right up here in the
keep track of the time?
Yep.
Pass those down.
Sure.
Hello, I hear you have a lot of other stuff going on tonight, so I'm actually just here to talk about a really cool event we have in your area this year, and it's Dane County Breakfast on the Farm. So we come to all the village and town meetings every year where we're hosting the event, just to give you a little information about our event and answer any questions you may have. So, real quick, my name is Katie Varney. I'm one of 4 coordinators for this event. My contact information is listed on the sheet that's kind of being passed around. So just event logistics real quick. It's being hosted at Henson Brother Dairy Farm. Will, one of the hosts, was going to join us tonight, but he is busy in the fields because he has the opportunity to work on that. So he's not here to be with us. But they are our gracious hosts this year. The event date is June 9th. We serve from 7 to 11:30. Prices are listed. And we're expecting 6,000 people. If it's a nice forecast, we could easily go over that. And typically, the closer we are to Madison, we do really draw very big groups. We were just on the other side of 12 last year down K at Blue Star Dairy Farms, and we're well over 6,000 people. So it's a very cool event. The neat thing this year is this is our 40th breakfast, so we're expecting to do a few other fun things just to celebrate all our other gracious hosts we've had over the years and how much this event has grown. The biggest thing is obviously volunteers, so that link is listed here, and we usually solicit about 300 volunteers for the event to make this go off without a hitch. And then the other thing that's key this year is there's really no parking on farm. So this is the first year we're doing this. A lot of counties have gone to this many years before and don't have parking on the farm just because farmers either don't have the fields or they're just not willing to possibly lose their crops over the event. So that's kind of the case this year. It just didn't work out. We've always had an off-site parking option the last few years, and it's gone really, really well. So we're just kind of moving everyone off-site. Hopefully handicap and possibly some volunteers would be on-site, but that's it. So that's our big push this year, is to just let people know it's off-site parking. And then the other thing I like to talk about a little bit, because a lot of people assume this event is a fundraiser for the host farm itself, and it's not. They are graciously allowing us to just use their land to let 6 people walk all over the place, 6,000 people walk all over the place, and just so we can teach more about the dairy industry and educate people about the farming lifestyle, the industry, and what people go through to put food on our tables every day. So that's kind of my quick recap. Any questions from you guys?
Yes, Howard.
Every day I drive my school bus by the Henson farm and pick up, depends upon how many kids get out of bed. And I would, just for the people gathered here and for the audience, just say that they are wonderful residents of the community. And the kids are great, and they have a beautiful farm out there. So if you can get out there, or don't go park out, there's nowhere to park out there. Trust me, there is nowhere to park. So go somewhere else and park and take a shuttle or a bus or whatever they're offering, do that. But you'll have a wonderful time out there. It's a great operation. They have a wonderful farm, and you might learn something.
Yep.
Thank you, Howard. Anyone else have questions for Katie? Thank you, Katie.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great job. Okay, so the next speaker is Greg Neeson.
I was out to
So I'm Greg Neeson, and I own Green Neeson Insurance, which is just east of the Addison property. And I'm actually not against a new structure there. I would prefer I think a new building in there would really actually help the area. I'm opposed to the size of the building, the 4-story, and I'm against the setback. When we built back in 1987, the setbacks were very strict. And it seems with that size of a building, we'll have considerable shadowing in our building. And I think it'll be probably a negative for our property and our business. And I think especially for the residents that are behind that building as well. So I would prefer the 2 or 3 story building instead of 4-story. Okay.
Thank you, Greg. The next is Lee Schwartz.
So I'm Lee Schwartz, and I'm actually here in support of the Addison project on University Avenue. Many of you know me because I'm usually here with my sustainability hat on, but you know, as I think about the city of Middleton, I think about it from a sustainable standpoint, and I think about that corridor from Madison to here, and University Avenue is going to change a lot. And I think about, as I think of Middleton moving forward, I think about all the great things happening downtown, and I want to see more multifamily here that can bring in some more diversity as well. And so having gotten to know Anthony Gray a little bit and knowing the kind of developer he is and the kind of person he is, I think this is the kind of person that the city of Middleton wants to work with and the kind of development that we want to have here. So I'm very much in support of it. And, you know, as I have spent more time at Willie West and in that area, this is going to be an area that's going to be grown up, and I think this is the kind of project that's going to really help this whole corridor. So I'm very much in support of it, and hope that the council feels the same way. Thanks.
Thank you, Lee. So the next one is Janet Lord.
Hi, my name's Janet Lord, and I've been a member of the Pleasant View Golf Committee for 12 years, and I'm here tonight because of my concern of the mayor's proposal to not reappoint Terry Turner and Jeff Dunn to the Pleasant View Golf Committee. Let me say first that both gentlemen would like to stay on the golf committee, and the members of the golf committee would like them to stay on as well. It was brought to my attention that the mayor is making this decision because he'd like new people on the committee. New people are always welcome on the golf committee, but it is the approach and the timing of this change that I do not support. Pleasant View Golf Course is one of the largest managed and profitable entities of our city, I believe second only to the water department. That is a responsibility that we on the golf course committee take very seriously. Terry Turner has been on the Pleasant View Golf Course for 16 years and is one of the main reasons that we can be proud of the golf course and all it has and will have to offer the city of Middleton. His knowledge as a businessman, his dedication as a Pleasant View Golf, and his constant volunteer work as a committee member are some of the reasons that our golf course is financially stable and successful as it is today. Jeff Dunn owns and manages a small business in Middleton and understands the complexities of running a business. Again, the knowledge he brings as a businessman, his continued presence at the golf course, and his hours of dedication as a volunteer golf committee member all contribute to the success of Pleasant View. A profitable, successful golf course has not always been the case of Middleton. Without going back in history to review the trials and tribulations of the golf course, please know that this has been a long, hard journey to bring Pleasant View to its current levels of success, along with the high regard and respect it maintains with the golfers in Dane County. There's absolutely no doubt that these volunteer committee members are the main basis for this outcome. My difficulty with the mayor's proposal is that it is not based on sound business and golf background knowledge. Pleasant View Golf Course is a specialty business, one that requires specific knowledge and background of its volunteer committee members. It is a large financial entity in which the city of Middleton has invested millions of dollars. The mayor's desire to bring new blood and to change things up on the golf committee is not a smart or professional reason to not reappoint these committee members. It is in fact a very irresponsible and risky financial mistake and proposal that will be detrimental for the Pleasant View Golf Course and the city of Middleton. It has taken the golf committee years to get to the point in which we are an asset to the city of Middleton. We are at a crucial turning point in the success of the golf course. The background and knowledge of where we have been as a golf course and where we are headed as a golf course is an important component for its success in the next few years. We need to keep these committee members on to assure us of that success. I hope as a member of the Common Council that you will vote against the new proposed committee members for the Pleasant View Golf Committee brought to you by the mayor. My desire would be that the City of Middleton Common Council regards the city committees as well thought out and planned committees with volunteers who bring professional insight and background to the committees they are asked to join. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. So the next is Terry Turner.
Good evening. My name is Terry Turner, and I reside at 9317 Spirit Street. I'm speaking to you here tonight because of recent actions by the mayor regarding volunteer participation on various City of Middleton committees and my participation specifically. I've served as the chairperson of the Pleasant View Golf Course Advisory Committee for the past 18 years, since it was first established by ordinance. That means I've attended hundreds of meetings of our committee and various other council and committee meetings, including finance, planning, personnel, parks and rec, totaling thousands of hours of volunteer work. During these 18 years, I've missed but 2 meetings, but my complaint is not about the lack of an attendance reward. This past Friday evening, I received an email from the mayor firing me from my chairperson's post. To me, a firing by email is a cowardly, demeaning, and insulting way of recognizing thousands of hours of community service. Have any of you council members ever been fired by email? Have you ever heard of anyone being fired by email? Firing by email appears to be the mayor's unique way of recognizing volunteer efforts. There was no reason or explanation offered for the firing. Instead, the email stated in part, "Without exception, your service to PVGC has been exemplary and a model for how citizen engagement enhances the function and responsiveness of local government to the needs and concerns of its citizens." Such sentiment doesn't even remotely resemble the termination message. I am reminded of a quote from poet laureate Maya Angelou. "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." This action by the mayor demeans the thousands of hours I have devoted to volunteering to the City of Middleton and renders such contribution meaningless. Actions of a good neighbor city? Not so much. My understanding of why I was fired is that the mayor desires to increase gender diversity, ethnic diversity, and age diversity in volunteer committees. And since I am not female, since I'm not part of a minority, and since I am not young, I don't fit the mayor's vision. The mayor articulated his vision to me personally during a face-to-face meeting on Thursday, April 5th, and to the council in the email by which he routed his proposed committee assignments. I don't know the date of this correspondence. In a regular employer-employee relationship, an employer is prohibited from discriminating on the basis of gender, race or ethnic origin, or age in any matter regarding hiring, assignment, promotion, or termination of employees. The City of Middleton and all other employers are required to follow such rules in their interactions with their employees. However, the non-discrimination statute does not apply in volunteer-type situations, so the mayor has found a loophole where he can legally discriminate. In his mind, it is more important to assign an inexperienced person through discrimination than have a volunteer with 18 years on-point experience available. I do not agree this is a wise course of action. But just because a mayor can discriminate doesn't mean that he should discriminate. His desire to remake the citizen committees in his vision through blatant but legal discrimination must be held up to the light of day by the City Council and rejected. I ask the Council to reject all proposed mayoral committee assignments created by the blatant discrimination against incumbent volunteer members of the committees. Citizen participation has been a particular strength of the City of Middleton, and it needs to continue without the blatant discrimination practiced by the mayor. Thank you for your attention.
Terry, could I ask you a question now? So did we have number one, first I asked you a little over a month ago when you were in Arizona, I wanted to meet with you. And the second, we actually did meet and we had a complete discussion and I told you where I stood. This email was to recognize your service. I mean, you knew that, that there's a process where either the mayor can renew or not renew. And I had told you at that time, did I not?
No, you did not.
You s-
Terry, thank
Yes,
you for
Howard.
your well-thought-out conversations and your service to the city of Middleton. I think all of us around the horseshoe here would appreciate what you've said tonight. I can't apologize for what the mayor did. I agree with you wholeheartedly on many of those points which you've just made, and unless the lights go out later on, I'm sure there's going to be further discussion on this, but thank you very much for your service and your comments.
Thank you, Howard.
I just
Terry,
wanted
for
to,
bringing this to our attention.
Thank
I
you, Susan.
just wanted to say, Terry, you said you will be disappointed, and you said it more than once, but, and you understand.
Okay, Mayor.
So, okay, but that's, but I want to do set a record straight, okay? And the
You
other
have
thing
not
is,
set the record straight.
using the word firing, it's non-renew or not renew, and these are
The equivalent is the same, Mr. Mayor.
these are the advisory committees, so just remember, there are no employees here. So, okay, so the next one is Tom Scott.
Good evening. My name is Tom Scott. I live at 1523 Celery Street. I'm the vice chair of the golf committee. I don't have a written statement because it would be, I think, repetitive to go through the things Janet and Jeff have just said. I'm sorry, not Jeff, Terry, but I'm here to speak in favor of retaining Terry and Jeff. I've been on the golf committee now for 6 years. Their institutional knowledge, their wisdom is extraordinary. They have guided this golf course to be an absolute jewel in this entire metropolitan area for golf courses. Losing that experience, losing that vision would be, I can't imagine the loss. So I'm urging you to retain these people because they have brought this golf course where it is. And Terry specifically has the vision to carry it even further. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. So the next speaker is Tim Gray. Tim Gray.
I'm here to talk about appointments, and Tim Gary from 7310 Elmwood Avenue, and I am speaking in support of my neighbor, Kelsey Skoglund. She is a nominee for the Golf Committee. Tonight you will be making a vote for a slate of candidates. You will not be taking a vote independently against candidates who are not on the list. So I can say with certainty that from my experience, Kelsey is professional. She has great business experience working at Epic. She has an attention to detail, and I think you could not do better than having Kelsey as an appointee, as a citizen member of the committee. And with that said, I also want to echo some comments that were put into the Middleton Review, that I think that this government does very well, and the Golf Committee included, by having very good, active private citizens in the citizen advisory role, and professional staff and elected officials in an equal balance. I think that the success of this city is built on the success of that relationship. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you so much, Tim. So the next one is Craig Barfield, and he's going to talk in opposition to Addison Apartments.
Hello, Common Council. My name is Craig Burfield, and my wife and I own the house at 6709 Franklin Avenue. The 4-story Addison apartment building is what I'm here to talk about. I do not think this building fits with the neighborhood houses or businesses due to its extreme size and closeness to University Avenue. The proposed site will contain 6 studio apartments, 29 single-bedroom apartments, and a 4 two-bedroom apartments, as well as an existing 2-story house. All of this will be on 3 smaller than average residential lots. It's an extremely tight fit. Traffic is a primary concern. Nobody has been able to produce a traffic study despite it being talked about for the past several weeks. The perceived route of traffic for tenants heading downtown from the apartment building will route them through my neighborhood, where dozens of families and children live. Property values in this area will be negatively affected, as is always true with houses near large apartment buildings and high-traffic roads. My biggest concern is the precedence this sets for the city of Middleton. The building is large enough to block out the sun for several properties, I fear the next project to come along of this size will eclipse the sun coming into my own backyard. Do we honestly want to blight these established neighborhoods with something of this size? Based on the previous meeting minutes from the April 10th Plan Commission meeting I attended, the ratio of opposition to support for this project was 10-1. If this were a normal two-story building, I'm certain there would be nothing but support. In 2008, the City of Middleton received a grant from Dane County's Better Urban Infill Development Program and retained a consultant to prepare an improvement plan and general market analysis for the University Avenue corridor between Park and Allen Boulevard. It mentions the creation of condos, of row houses, or multiple family apartment buildings with commercial space. This project is none of these. There are a lot of great, reasonably sized and thoughtful projects that could go in this space, but I don't think this apartment building is one of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. And the next speaker is David Anderson.
Hi, my name is David Anderson. My wife and I own the property at 6924 Franklin Avenue. So I'm here to talk about the Addison project also. Craig pretty much just said it all, so I'll keep my comments brief. I know there's some people in favor of this, and it's easy to be in favor of this if you don't live directly behind a 4-story apartment complex that's going up. 4 stories, as Craig said, it's not a hard calculation. You can actually see where the shade is going to be. In December is the worst case scenario, and it really does literally block out the sun for multiple properties. Going back to the build plan that Craig just referenced and was referenced by the developers multiple times, I pulled a quote from that build plan. There's a lot there, obviously, but they talked about the multi-use facilities, and specifically in the build plan that is supposedly governing what you guys are doing. It says the plan also recommends a maximum height of 3 stories for commercial and mixed-use projects. So this doesn't even fit into the plan that's being referenced for why we're doing this. So anyway, at the end of it, it seems like Craig, I would be in favor of a 2-3 story apartment complex. That seems reasonable, something not above the tree line. This is dramatic. I know last week apparently there was a comment by someone, I don't think it was this council, but the zoning commission, saying it'll be roughly the same size as the Middleton Sport Bowl across the street, so what's the big deal? And that is shocking. The Middleton Sport Bowl is 2 stories. This is literally twice the size of the Middleton Sport Bowl. So the fact that it was voted on by people who clearly had no idea what they were voting for is rather depressing to me. So this is a massive building. 3 stories would be significantly better. 2 stories, even better. But 4 is just it's just too big. Just too big. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was going to mention that, and what I was referring to is that they had done by setting, the front was 3 stories now, and that was much, much better. I like that better, and that's why I mentioned it.
So, yeah, actually, I'm glad you brought that up. So, again, it's one of those things where it's really hard to live in a neighborhood where this has been taking place, where the primary concern of most people on the council has been the view from University Ave. And so a big push has gone to lower the frontage from 4 to 3 because it looks bad, but that still leaves 4 stories for all the properties. And this is an established community. So, if anything, I find that kind of insulting.
I just wanted to mention it was the 3 that I was referring to, and it's.
The 3 of, sorry.
That it's on University opposed to the 4.
Of the apartment complex.
Yeah, they changed it, so that's all.
Yeah, of course, but the relevant height is not the front, it's
Right,
the back.
okay.
So, and that's 4 stories.
So in the back, it load, the whole building is lowered by 3 feet, or what is the 3 or 4 feet, right? 3 feet, okay.
Sorry, what?
This has nothing to do with the 3 story on the front versus the 4 story.
Yep.
It has to do with the retail space inside has been removed now.
Yes, yeah, I'm aware.
That lowers the whole building by 3 feet.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with changing
Yep.
relative heights of.
Yeah, so it's still really tall. And yeah, exactly. Anyway, that's my piece. Again, like many other people, I'm not inherently against it. I think it'd be great to have a nice, sorry, I'm not doing this well, a nice apartment complex there. I think everyone is in favor of that. It's just that you're going from a place with literally only single story or 2 stories to 4 stories. It's just an enormous change in the area. So,
Thank you,
thanks.
David. So the next one is Sarah Cordes.
I get 3 minutes, right? I think I can do it in
Yep.
3 minutes, okay. My name is Sarah Cordes. My family and I live at 6714 Franklin Avenue, and I want to speak to you about the Addison and the rezoning that other people have just spoken to. I have 3 quick points, 2 more for the future and 1 specifically for this project. The first 2 points are notification. I know you fulfilled the legal requirement of 100 feet letting neighbors know, but I think it would be more good neighborly of you to, in projects of this size and this kind of massive rezoning change, perhaps maybe at people on the immediate city block, you could send out a postcard or something, just for the future. By the time my neighbors and I talked to each other and knew this was coming, we didn't have time to educate ourselves or mobilize any kind of response, either pro or against. We didn't have time, and it's a massive change. The second point for the future I want to make is that I just want to make sure that I know change is coming. We were told early on that change is scary. I get it. I'm a middle-aged woman. I know about change. But as far as all that goes, growth, I know that's your mission in Middleton, to do growth. Now, I don't know that it all has to be sustained in the University Avenue and Parmenter area. I'm thinking in particular of another neighborhood that's devoted to density and is devoted to new urbanism, has a grocery store, has a bus line, and that's Middleton Hills. I think they have at least 1 civic lot in there that might be good for rezoning of this kind in an apartment building. And I want to respectfully submit that if we're going to grow and attract families, and I think we're all for that, we know the city is a great resource and we can do that, but I want to make sure that it's citywide. We all feel the opportunities and the burdens. And I've been assured by people putting this up that it's going to be great for property values, and it's going to bring a lot of families in, so Middleton Hills might, and other neighborhoods might benefit from that too. This project specifically, I'm sorry, I'm getting too excited. The traffic, you keep telling me that this 40-unit building will not add that much traffic. They're putting 59 parking spaces in this building, so it's not 40 people coming out of there, it's 60 cars. I'm worried that this project is the domino on University Avenue and in points beyond. And the Plan Commission has said, wants buildings like this all the way from the west side to Madison. Pretty soon you've got 60 cars and 60 cars and 60 cars. And then all your established neighborhoods on Elmwood also, and on Franklin, not just me, those are frontage roads. And nobody wants to live on a frontage road. They're dangerous. That's just the way it is. The last thing, also, this occurred to me last night. None of your other apartment buildings that I could think of, and please help me if I'm missing one, Tribeca Village, Middleton Center, the Senior Center on Allen Boulevard, Parmenter buildings, none of those specifically route the traffic out through a residential space, just this one. I think that's poor planning. It doesn't meet your own build plan. I'm referencing here a city document prepared specifically for this meeting just recently, that the residential buildings, the development should be 2 to 3 stories. This is a 4-story building, regardless of what it looks like from University, and 3 feet just doesn't do it. It also says it shouldn't damage the value of the surrounding properties, and if I'm a frontage road, that's probably going to be damaged. Emergency access to the site, you admit, says is unresolved. That makes me nervous. 80% of this thing will be impervious cement. For stormwater runoff, also not planned, not done, not resolved. Green space, this building is a bad fit. This is rushed planning. You're making all sorts of exceptions for a building that is not exceptional, a project that is not exceptional. You're selling Middleton short. I think growth is great. I think you can grow better than this, and I'm begging you to do it.
Thank you, Sarah. So there are some other people. There's a Trevor Gilson. He is registering an opposition, but doesn't want to speak. This is also.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Opposition to which topic? I'm sorry.
The Addison, the same apartment.
Okay, thank you.
So again, next one is Jessie Meso, 6639 Franklin Avenue. And this is also about the Addison rezoning, and she's registering an opposition without speaking. And then there's a Franco Marcos, also the Addison project, 6708 Franklin Avenue, and also registering an opposition. And then there's a Nancy Neeson, also registering an opposition to this project. So there's a Buzz Menz, he would like to speak in favor of this project.
Good evening. Good evening, Common Council. My name is Buzz Menz. I have a property at 6904 University Avenue, immediately to the west of the Addison project. I've owned this property since 1986. University Avenue has gone through a lot of stages since 1986. When I came here, it was a log cabin at the bend that is now clearly a commercial corridor. University Avenue has always been a commercial corridor. It's how cities grow. You have commercial corridors, you have to infill them. I think most people understand that. It's unfortunate if it's something that you don't think about when you purchase properties and what have you, but commercial places in towns generally do tend to grow over time. And I purchased the place, it's great. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, don't change anything. The city of Middleton's fabulous. I get upset all the time I go out I'm an avid bicyclist. Every time I go out Airport Road or Old Sauk, I just grind my teeth because I'm worried about getting run over now. It used to be a fabulous thing to just go get on a bike and get out of here, But that's progress, and that's the way the city is. The city is growing. Whether we like it or not, the city is growing. And I believe in growth. I believe in opportunity. And I certainly believe in investment into opportunity and growth, as well thought out growth, of course. And I heard the comments about we need to think about what we're doing and have good growth. And good growth is very important because you can do things stupidly or you can do things well. And it would be nice to know that we're doing things well and not fly by the seat of your pants or too quickly. Traffic, I know, is a concern. Traffic has always been a concern on University Avenue. Every time I go out of my driveway, I have to turn right on University Avenue. And when I come in, I got to come in from the left. In other words, east to west. It's been that way forever for me on that road. For my customers and my clients that come in and out of the place, for my renters. And this particular many businesses actually have that kind of a situation. Many places where you have to go to a doctor's office or a grocery store or, pretty much many places. You can only access it from one direction and you have to continue out in that direction. So there was a daycare next door to me for many years where the Addison is currently going to be. And over the years, I worked with them. They negotiated a thing where they could use my parking lot. So there was 40 cars every morning and every evening for a period of years going in and out of my parking lot, dropping off kids and what have you, and picking them up. And that was probably the maximum, 30 to 40 cars. Well, no, not quite, not really. Well, okay, we can defer, and that's okay. I respect that. But the fact of the matter is that it wasn't a huge problem then. Will this increase in traffic be evident in the neighborhood? Probably. But you've made a significant investment in the downtown area. And it's just natural to see that now spills out into other corridors where the city is looking to grow and to add investment into the infrastructure. And I support that. you know, but we have to figure out how we're going to deal with all the issues like traffic and height and that kind of thing. And so that's where the well thought out plan works out. And whether you know, address it or not, I believe that this particular project is a good project. I think that overall, I don't really stand to gain anything from it. You know, I don't know that my property is going to increase in value, but I'm not interested in selling my property. I'm going to have my property for the next 20 years. You know, I too am making an investment in my own property. So I think that that's what university is about. University is about growth. And so I'll just wrap it up and say, I think that like my neighbors on Franklin Street said, you know, we have to be smart about what we do, but we are investing in this city, and it's a great thing to invest in this city. And I'm glad to see that we are investing in this city.
Thank you, Buzz. So next one is Sheila Mandarino. She just is registering an opposition without speaking. And this is also about the Addison project. The next one is also for Addison project, John McMahon, and is again registering an opposition concerned about traffic patterns and size of the building. And the last one is Mika McMahon, and also registering an opposition, traffic issues and the size. Is there anybody else who might want to speak who hasn't? Yes.
I'd like to change my mind. I'm Sheila Mandarino. I did say opposing without speaking. I would like to say a few words.
Okay.
Good evening. I have not heard too much about this project until the last month. I am very disappointed. I know they said there was a traffic study. However, if you go down Franklin Avenue is kind of the matrix for 3 schools. And all those schools have children walking to and from nonstop. You say this won't affect the traffic. You have elementary school children walking back and forth, kids going to high school and the junior high. I am very concerned about these children walking. I had children that attended all 3 of these schools, and when they were walking to school, it was a problem as well. Now, if you route the traffic from University Avenue onto Franklin Avenue, I'm sorry, it just doesn't make sense to me. I too am in favor of promoting Middleton. I know it's gonna grow. When I moved on Franklin Avenue, probably just the same as my other neighbors, it was in between 3 schools. Very easy to get to. All the properties, people there are very friendly. I don't understand why you want to build a 4-story unit. I know they said it will bring more families. Well, if their majority of the apartment size is studio and 1-bedroom apartments, I believe there's 4 2-bedroom apartments. How many families are going to be renting in that complex? I don't see it going to be bringing in additional families to Middleton. I am opposed to this, not the development completely, but I'm opposed to the size of it as well. 3 stories, I think, would be acceptable to the majority of the people in the residence and around the area. However, the 4-story to me does not make sense. It did not make sense to me either when an apartment building was built across from a bar and right next door to a dog daycare center. Who in their right mind wants to live across from a bar and next to a daycare center for dogs? I don't know. But anyhow, that's what I have to say, and I am very opposed. I hope the council does more studying and talking to the neighbors. I don't believe anyone has come to really address the concerns that my neighbors have brought to the committee. I don't think they have been addressed.
Well, I was there today. I spent at least about 40 minutes, so.
Where?
I was on Franklin Avenue, so.
Just walking?
Yeah, talked to Sarah Coates, talked to some of the other folks.
Is this the
there.
first time?
No, I was there before as well.
I am retired. I've never seen anyone walking around talking to neighbors. No one has ever come to our home. So I don't know if it's just been talking to people that have been at meetings before. I think the whole neighborhood needs to be brought up
Oh,
to
absolutely.
speed on that.
I
But I
guess-
don't think it's been done.
Yes. Okay,
So,
thank you, Sheila.
Okay?
Okay, so anyone else who might want to speak? Yes, sir, go ahead.
I'd like to also change my mind. I'd like to talk.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you come up?
State your name and,
Well, good evening to all. My name is Franco Marcos. I reside at 6708 Franklin Avenue. I work as a transportation planner for the Department of Transportation. Howard, how are you doing? You used to work with us back in the days. However, my disappointment is I'm not completely opposed to the project. As my neighbor said, it's good for Middleton. However, again, seems like it's not planned out correctly. We'll never get away with something like that, planning roadways. First of all, I found out about the project from my wife last week. We live, pretty much a block over. So you would think that, anything that's happening in that area of University Avenue, okay, we should get notified. So that is my first disappointment, that we weren't notified about it. Then the other thing is, the first thing I asked my wife is, based on my line of work, did you do a TIA, so a traffic impact study? Because University Avenue as a connecting highway, it's gonna get busy, and with that particular unit and the number of vehicles, it's gonna be very busy, and all that traffic, or the majority of it, is gonna come over to Franklin Avenue, where we're the old folks on the block now. When we moved in about 30 years ago, right, we didn't have kids. All my kids now are 21, 24. Most of my neighbors have young kids that are walking, okay? They're walking to school. So guess what? It's gonna be dangerous for the kids. So, as we say, our good neighbor city, please, inform us, give us the information, okay? And let's try to keep the neighborhood safe. Again, as I'll echo, what all my neighbors said, it's not that we're opposed to the project. It's pretty much, the size, the way that the information have been, put out there to us. So with more information, if we're better educated, I'm pretty sure that, it's all about, again, not only informing us, but involve us into the decision making. Thank you.
Thank you, Franco. Okay, state your name and,
Hi, I'm Erin Jones. This is my first meeting, so thank you for having us. It's been incredibly informational. I actually spoke with my alderman for the first time today too, and he was incredibly helpful. So I just wanted to ask the committee, this is about the golf committee, if there may be a way to not have this be so black and white, because it's been, again, incredibly informational to learn about the experience and the contribution that the current members of the committee have provided, but it seems like there may also be an opportunity to bring some new people to the table to help contribute as well. So I think if there's a way to keep both those experienced individuals and bring some new people on who can learn from them and contribute in their own ways, that might be a middle ground that everyone could be happy with.
thank you, Erin.
Thank you, Aaron.
Anyone else who may want to speak? Okay, I'm going to close the speaking part of the.
Wait, one more.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. Okay, thank you.
My name's Yuli Shi. I was allowed to speak once before in opposition. I'm not opposed to the project itself. We're really opposed to the size of the building. I think Mr. Gray and his team has done a terrific job of trying to fit into the needs of the neighborhood. but we still feel the building is too tall. We also have concerns with the traffic, just like Sheila said, and it seems odd that our whole area neighborhood didn't really get notices. It's very strange, and that was brought up once before. It would be nice if we could have a meeting with just the neighbors and the concerns, but all my neighbors are correct. There are the 3 schools. I do not have any children that have attended, but I think that the school system is very wonderful, and there are a lot of children walking. And with the size of the building, we do have concerns with the safety. There's on Branch Street, there's a 4-way stop sign by Maywood, and a lot of vehicles go flying through those stop signs, and almost daily we see at least a vehicle that does not stop. And so during school hours, they do have a crosswalk, but sometimes kids are coming and going, and this is a big concern because Middleton really, I believe, prides itself for the school system itself. And I think I'm limited to 3 minutes, but I think that's it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Julie. Okay, so anyone else? Okay, this closes the public comment section of the meeting. And we are on to the approval of the consent agenda. Is there anybody else?
No, one person who has already spoken, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so approval of the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Need a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion to approve the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. So the next one is the proclamation, and I'm going to read the proclamation here. The proclamation, Building Safety Month, May 2018. Whereas the city of Middleton is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depend on the safety and economic value of the homes, buildings, and infrastructure that serve our citizens both in everyday life and in times of natural disaster. And whereas our confidence in the structural integrity of these buildings that make up communities achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of the buildings. And whereas these guardians are dedicated members of the International Code Council, a US-based organization that brings together local, state, and federal officials that are experts in the built environment to create and implement the highest quality codes to protect us in the buildings where we live, learn, work, worship, play, and whereas our nation benefits economically and technologically from using the international codes that are developed by the national voluntary codes and standards developing organizations. Our government is able to avoid the high cost of complexity of developing and maintaining these codes, which are the most widely adopted building safety and fire prevention codes in the nation. Whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public that the critical role of our communities, largely unknown guardians of public safety, our local code officials, who assure us of safe, efficient, and livable buildings that are essential to keep America thriving. And whereas building codes save lives, the theme for Building Safety Month 2018 encourages all Americans to raise awareness of the importance of building safe and resilient construction, fire prevention, disaster mitigation, and new technologies in the construction industry. Whereas each year, in observance of Building Safety Month, Americans are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety and economic investment at home and in community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local and state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, state and federal agencies in protecting lives and property. Now therefore, I, Gurdeep Brar, Mayor of the City of Milton, do hereby proclaim May 18 as Building Safety Month. This proclamation was adopted as a regular meeting of the Milton Common Council on May 1st, 2018. Need a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Need a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So you want to take it?
Thank you very much.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda are the agreements.
Mr. Mayor,
Mhm.
could I ask that the ordinance be moved up so we have the people that are here for that agenda item don't have to sit through the rest of the...
Okay. Ordinance. Okay, so the ordinances, first reading, final action may be taken upon approval or motions to suspend rules under section 1.07 Milton General Ordinances. Number 1, rezoning ordinance, request for rezoning from official District B1 to Planned Development District General Implementation Plan, the Addison, Ostringer Development, 6814, 6818, 6824 University Avenue.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move for referral back to the Plan Commission. I want to explain my, I really appreciate the people coming out, and I know, Anthony, that you're a person that believes in community involvement. So I would like to see if there's a possibility to go to a 3-story building. I think you heard from the neighbors that that is a more desired possibility, so I'd like to see if there's a possibility to work that out. I also would like, and I do that with the desire not to have the neighbors come back and say, now we want a 2-story building or a 1-story building, that's not a moving target, that there really is some consensus on how we can get to a really good location. I have to say that Anthony has been a great developer to work with. He is a community activist. He's a community involver, if that's a word. But he is the type of individual that really wants to make this work. And I want to make it work because I know that this is my neighborhood. It's on a bus line, and I know that everyone's been talking about traffic. No one's been talking about the possibility that you won't need a car if you live here. You really won't. I take the bus downtown, and I live in this neighborhood. So I just think there are so many possibilities for this development. But I did look at the build proposal, and it does have 3 stories in there. And I think that there is some desire to have that type of building process throughout that corridor. So I would like to see that referred back to the Plan Commission for that consideration.
I'll second.
Do we have a, okay? So do we allow the?
Discussion, sure.
Okay, open for discussion.
I'd just like to say that the more input you have from the neighbors, the more buy-in they have and the more comfortable they are with it. And this is going to be there, and it'd be nice for them to have a voice too.
Okay, so.
And then
Should be able to present.
I can ask him to present now?
don't we get to present the project now versus you just moving it off?
Yes, Susan.
I think the Addison should be able to present the project. I know at the Plan Commission.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
May I finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
Seeing the changes done in the building and the heights really made a difference, and they have made some concessions in terms of eliminating the retail So, which will tremendously decrease traffic going in there. So I think we need to look at what they have done in this
Okay,
last.
go ahead.
All right. Good evening. My name is Mark Atwood, JLA Architects, working with Anthony on this project to help him go through it. So what I'm hearing tonight is obviously a lot of people through the mechanism that's in place haven't felt that they've seen enough or been maybe informed enough. So as part of it, I want to maybe just try to answer as many questions as I can while we have it here in the packet and as many people are in the room as we can. So as we just kind of go through this, we obviously kind of know where this is. You know, we could talk all night about economics and how projects work and to the question from Joanne of reduction and the project, one, the economics are developers want to be where people want to be, right? Number one, if we look at the big picture, they want to be in Middleton, okay? You guys all have chose to be in Middleton for that same reason. You want to be in Middleton. It's a great place to live. And now if you go on even the smaller micro, right, we're University Avenue with Willie Street being added and continue to grow, and Milton Sport Bowl years ago redeveloped. Of course, where does the developer want to be? They want to be where successful businesses are, in successful neighborhoods. You have made your neighborhood a successful neighborhood. You're going to attract people who want to develop in your neighborhood. Two, there's two different plans that get talked about and referenced in tonight. There's a 2006 plan, comprehensive plan that was actually done and actually adopted. The 2009 plan that is often referenced tonight actually was never adopted by city council or plan commission. It was put together, staff, according to their notes, hoped that it would be adopted, but it never was adopted. As from a developer standpoint, we do use that as a guideline. There are more items that we hit the nail on the head with than we don't. The studies, both the 2006 and 2009, are really in reference to obviously the objection everybody had years ago of the urban sprawl, right? Everybody wanted to stop urban sprawl, so the city worked hard to find out where in the city is an appropriate locations for urban infill. And these two studies were put together in 2006 and 2009. So some of these going back to when in 2008 they got the grant is almost now 10 years ago. These things have been on the books, on the record, with the city saying that this area is going to be redeveloped and this is how we see it going to be redeveloped. So Anthony coming in looking for, of course, where is the great spot to be, wants to be here. The plan says density. The economic parts of it are land is getting more expensive. Construction costs, watch the news, are getting more expensive. Everything's getting more expensive. I don't want to say we don't want to listen, because we've been listening for months, and I know that Plan Commission, for example, can speak to how many times we've been back and how many things we've changed, and I'll go through really fast here as I can for it. The economics just don't work to take this down to a 3 or even way down to a 2-story building, okay? Traffic, parking. Part of the reason we have so much parking is not because we hope that many people are going to have cars. It's to the point of the committee members. We actually hope and think that a lot of our parking stalls are going to be empty. The problem is the cost of the building goes up because the city of Middleton has standards for how many parking stalls they think each dwelling unit requires. We have to put those many stalls in, okay? That's part of how developing works. There's a set of standards and rules. You're all asking us to follow the standards and rules, and we are. But we are on a transit line. That's why this area was done in 2009, was looked at as a great redevelopment area. So we really don't think, we don't want that many. As far as traffic goes, so we have a TIA study in the process. I know you've all heard about that. We are barking just like you are to everybody to listen to get us that traffic study. It's been, I think almost 2 months since we paid for it to have it done. I don't understand why it takes so long. So we're right there with you. But one of the things that maybe you don't know that I just want to address is the reason that everybody talks about traffic obviously having to turn only right coming out of there and then thus back through potentially the neighborhood is because of the median that's out in front, right? We have actually, one of the things that we sat down and talked to staff about and talked to the traffic study person was, and we're waiting to find out what the data comes back is can we get rid of or modify that median? Okay, if that happens, then we don't have to put as much traffic back through the neighborhoods. But that's what the traffic study we're waiting to hear, okay? Our goal is not to send them back through the neighborhood either. Our goal is to put them out on University Avenue where they belong in a safe manner. But we're waiting for that traffic study. So that's something maybe you're unaware of, that is our first choice, is to modify the median so they don't have to only turn right. Some of the other items, I'll just kind of run through the plan real quick as fast as I can so I don't, everybody can get their head around it. All these documents are online if anybody wants to look through them. So again, the number of parking stalls is generated off of a calculation. The cost, the more parking that's required, of course, the more expensive the building gets, the more units we have to replace them. Again, we did over the last meetings with Plan Commission, the first floor had commercial space on it, which again met more of the standards of what the 2006 and 2009 comprehensive plans addressed. But obviously the lot's only so big. There's concern about traffic. We listened to the committee. We've been back multiple times. We took the commercial space out because it was going to generate more traffic than we could park and more traffic than we thought the site could handle. Okay, so we didn't add units. We actually reduced the height of the building and kept the same number of units and reduced the retail. So again, we were listening. We lowered, hopefully, the traffic count. Obviously, as we go up, the biggest thing that's happened over the last versions is the reduction along the street. So yes, the building is 4 stories for the vast majority of it. It is 3 stories up along University Avenue per our continued work with the Plan Commission. As we go through it, and now you can see some images. So here's where we started. Here's where we were back months ago in our first version. And then here, a little bit of changes as we continue to play with material and we pull it down along the street. Now, again, I understand that we're talking about street side, and here's where we've ended up. Again, reducing the height overall, reducing the mass along University Avenue. And we can look at these and go through them, and again, they're online. The other thing I'd like to kind of talk about is per the request of the city staff, we put together a very detailed, very complicated shadow study. I've heard a lot of people talk about that the sun's going to be blocked out, and that the building's going to cleared out. Well, the data actually doesn't show that. Number one, I think you guys you're probably aware, you have a great neighborhood. The blocks are very deep. This block that we're on is a very deep block. It's not a traditional new block as far as depth and dimension goes. And it has a lot of mature trees on it, which will remain. And so as you actually look at, and again, we can dwell on this all night, but we did a summer solstice and we did a winter solstice. And yes, there's a couple buildings, and mostly it's the buildings along University Avenue and one at the end of the cul-de-sac that are the most affected. The rest really don't get any additional sun or shade, mainly because of the depth and because of the trees that exist. So the facts just don't bear out. If you compare the existing condition to our proposed condition, it actually just doesn't bear out the fact that the building's going to cast shadows. It's just the data doesn't show it. So again, you can see the depth of the project. So Anthony has been, again, I think by showing how far we've come. We did get I know there are different committees and there's different concerns. We did get a 6-0 vote last week. We have continued to work. We want the best project. And Anthony will speak. Nobody wants to put up a bad project. No one wants to be associated with a bad project. But there's still only so much that developers can do. And we're willing to listen, but there's still a bottom line of how far we can go with this. And again, we've followed the city standards. The city said, we want infill, this is how we want it, this is the model. I think we've checked off probably 90% of the boxes of what they've asked for. And so we've listened, and we are listening.
Thank you. My name is Anthony Gray, and as Mark mentioned, I'm working with him on this project, the Addison. I would just ask the council to please consider the equities before you refer me back to a committee I've been to 4 times, once to address that very question. We literally sat down with Kurt and tried to figure out what level of density is required to do this kind of development infill on an urban stretch. Literally, this is the 11th, 12th time I've been back before either the Workforce Housing Committee or the Planning Committee or the City Council. It's fair to say you don't want urban infill on University, but it doesn't get any cheaper. In fact, it actually prices out people who want to do good things in that neighborhood. There's a reason those 2 lots have been blighted for more than a decade. And it's because this kind of redevelopment work is extremely expensive, at least compared to the urban sprawl of just putting up a building in a farmland, which is what we're all trying to avoid. Referring me back to a committee that I got a 6-0 vote out of, and I've been to 4 times to address, among other issues, questions of density and opportunity. We've changed the design at the request of various councils and committees, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 times. I mean, it's fair to say you don't want infill development, but it's expensive. We already have a gap that we're trying to fill, and the longer it delays, the less likely it is that we're going to be able to do this. We've been now at this, approval process, the entitlement process, 3 or 4 months. I really would appreciate it if you take a look at the report that your own planning commission did. They did an extensive report that lists all the times I've been in front of you, all of the considerations we've looked at, all the committees that have had input on design and approach, and has some conditions, including a favorable TIA study, which we paid for 2 months ago and is still forthcoming. I really would ask you to consider.
Yeah, Emily, go ahead.
I recently knocked a lot of doors in my district, which is not this district, and there was a lot of concern about workforce housing and the high cost of living in Middleton, especially for working parents. I know there was a comment about they don't see many families moving into this because they're 1 bedrooms, but I can tell you from the people I met, there's a lot of single parents with a child, and they're trying to make ends meet. Can you talk to how much the pricing would be on these rents, and can we actually get people into these buildings?
Yeah, it's a good question. We can. The financing that we're looking at primarily is a 710 program from WIDA. So we're trying to bring state money in to try and redevelop this stretch of University. And one of the conditions of the 710 is that 20% of the units have to be workforce housing. In other words, you want the people who work across the street at Willie Street to be able to live in the neighborhood where they work. And having been an elected official on the East Coast, I understand the urge to punt, and I get it, I really do, but the facts are not going to change. You have a 20 or 21 page report from your staff overwhelmingly recommending you support this. You have a unanimous vote from your planning commission overwhelmingly saying that this is what Middleton needs. The facts won't change if you push us back another month. Nothing changes. The economics are what they are. And so we're trying to create a way for the people who want to work at Willie Street to live in the neighborhood and get access to this spectacular school system. The standard numbers are 11, 13, and 18 for the studios, 1 bedrooms, and 2 bedrooms, but know that To qualify for the WIDA financing, 20% of those units would have to be at 80% of CMI. And what they do is they take census tracts and look at average incomes. And in order to get access to this funding, we'd have to create access for at least 20% of the units to be workforce housing. And that's defined under this program as 80% of CMI in this census tract.
Mr. Gray?
Thank you.
Okay, well, this is not the public party. Yes, then.
Mr. Gray?
Yes, sir.
20% that are going to be workforce housing with your financing, how long are you contracted for that to be workforce housing? Is there a sunset clause where after 10 years it goes to market value, 15 years?
I don't know. I don't remember a sunset clause in the term sheet, so my guess would be no, that there isn't one.
So you're contractually obligated then to rent 20% for the life of your building?
Of CMI, which of course will change year to year. But yeah, yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, any other questions from the council?
And I would also just point out that what we're here to approve is the PDD, the GIP, as all of the neighbors will tell you, and frankly, most of you know, because you've seen me twice a week for 3 months. We would welcome everyone's input at the SIP level, which is the next level of planning, the granular level of planning. But none of the economics change, none of the facts change. I understand the instinct to punt, but it's really just what's gonna end up happening is I'm gonna say I just can't do it, and we're just gonna leave 2 blighted lots. You're not gonna get a 2-story apartment building because it costs too much to do urban infill. You can't do 2 stories there. You just can't. We looked at it. Kurt Paulson's a pretty smart guy on your planning commission, and he helped us run through it. It just doesn't work. If you want development on this stretch, this is the closest we could come to meeting the requests that all of you have made over the past few months. So I ask you to look at your own planning committee staff's recommendations, and then please vote.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. Yeah, Robert? Please, this is the developer, it's not 3 minutes. Yes, Robert?
I don't know that anybody has an answer here, but I hear frustration from all parties involved that we don't have a traffic study yet. Any idea when it might be coming in?
And Anthony and Mark are correct. They did pay for it. Our consultant is working on it. We understand it's going to be any day now. I just wanted to put a few things in perspective, though. With the 39 apartments, the normal rule of thumb is that an apartment unit will generate about 6 trips a day versus a single family at 10 trips a day. Leaving to go to work is 1 trip. So with 39 units, that's 234 trips a day. Probably the TIA will take into account it's on a bus line, and some people are going to be using that. They'll also take into account some of the walkability of the site. So we do hope to have it any day, and that is one of the conditions of approval for and they're as frustrated as you guys are and we are, but our consultants are, frantically working on it, but anyway, does that help? I'm taking somebody else's.
Eileen?
Yes, Susan?
How many trips a day are there currently how many cars a day are there on University Avenue?
On University Avenue, my guess is Sean here still?
Average daily traffic.
My guess is it's about 20,000. Sean, would you say about 20,000 cars a day on University at that stretch?
Probably in that ballpark.
Okay, Robert?
And how extensive is the TIA going to be? Does it also look around the block?
And Sean, you correct me if I'm wrong, I believe what it will do is make assumptions about where those 39 people who live in those 39 units will travel to, how they'll get there. And they'll break it up and send it in different directions based on assumptions. Is that correct?
Yeah, I wouldn't expect it to get into intersection analysis other than at major intersections. So.
Specifically Franklin.
Right. I think we'd expect some vehicles to travel on Franklin, but I wouldn't expect this analysis to get into that. There's a lot of capacity on our local roads in this area. There's not as much capacity at the signalized intersections in this area.
It's for both of you. You said it could be here at any time. So do you have any definitive date?
I don't have a definitive date. I would expect it within a few days.
Kathy, you had a question?
I do. Part of this is I'd still like to have you meet with the neighbors. You have a lot of the data, a lot of the reasons, all the facts, and I think that the neighbors have not been all communicated to them, and they don't understand some of this, or they have some good ideas too. So I think that part of this should be a neighborhood meeting so that they're more informed about the project.
Okay, any other questions?
I don't disagree with that, and I would, listening to them, hearken the same thing. Obviously, we complied with all the city's processes. We had a neighborhood meeting in which we did mailings separate of the city processes, and I believe it was notified in the paper twice. So 3 times, twice, anyway, 4 times, 4 times. So if I can just say, if you can look at your process and maybe expand your mailings, I'm in favor of everything they said about that. So it's not for lack of effort, at least on our part. We did everything we could. But if you want to expand your radius, it might be, I would agree with them.
Any other questions? So the motion is to send it back to Plan Commission, Joanna? Yes, Howard?
Roll call vote, please.
Okay. So, Lori, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
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 Is this to send it back to planning? No.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
No.
Okay, so the motion passes 6-2, so, all right.
What are we looking for Plan Commission to decide?
I think that's a fair question.
I'm just trying to ask so we know, because we did get a 6-0 vote on this exact plan that's in front of you last week, a unanimous approval. So what are we looking for them, are we sending it back to them for?
So Joanna,
Specifically, what item?
To look at a 3-story option.
Okay, which we did. This is the compromise they came up with. I'm just saying, I'm trying to be efficient. I'm trying to make sure we're on the same page. This was the compromise that they settled on and voted 6-0. So.
Well, but they didn't hear from the council, so now they're hearing from the council. So
Okay,
the
that's-
plan
I'm trying to
commission is
understand.
not its own body. It makes recommendations to the council. The council is recommending to them to take another look at it.
I just want to make sure I know which item we're specifically asking them to re-look at.
So anybody else wants to provide the input, what the council Plan Commission should be looking at?
It sounds like there have been a lot of people missed in the notification on this, and I actually don't blame your group. I think, there's blame to go around everywhere. The fact remains that our citizens did not know about this until recently, at least a number of them. And I don't know what we can do to get another chance at
The distance.
yeah, sorry, another chance at getting citizen conversations going, because it's not just you telling them what's going on so that they're aware. It's the feedback the other direction too, and it's not easy. And I know it's not a pleasant experience, but I think that needs to happen, or this will be dead in the water for many other reasons, because we need buy-in from everybody.
Even if we could have a neighborhood meeting at Willie Street again and just talk about these issues, and maybe the community could make recommendations to the Plan Commission. I really do think the facts were jumbled. I had people telling me about secret meetings for the city as if there's some conspiracy, and we, to try to get that kind of clutter to get to the facts was very hard. So we had that conspiracy theory going out there too. So I wanted to dispel that we are transparent, but people have busy lives, and sometimes they don't always see what's in the paper. They don't always see the notification. Only, the immediate neighbors in that block got the notice. It does affect.
Only within 100 feet.
It's 100 feet of the development, so that's what. 200 feet. So that's the only neighbors that got the notice. So that's why there's so much angst, is because people didn't, when they don't find out, then they take the negative approach to it. So I think it would be helpful to have a conversation. I tried to put out information when I got, I wrote long emails back to people, and they still came back with all kinds of information that they wanted. So that told me that they were hungry for information about the project. So that meant that whatever tools we were using wasn't working. So we have to do better, so.
Okay, thank you. Howard and then Susan.
When's the next plan commission meeting?
Next Tuesday.
A week from today?
Mm-hmm.
And this will be on the agenda?
Well, you guys referred it back, but you also asked that a neighborhood meeting be held, so.
I'm happy, over the weekend, if we can get a room at the Willie Street, their community room would be great if we can, or here.
I'm not available this weekend. Sorry.
Yes, I think here would be a better place.
Susan?
I think it needs to be clarified, the distance that people were sent notifications, that's on the city. That's not the developer.
Right.
And the developer should not be blamed for that.
Okay.
It might be a
Yes,
good
Kathy.
idea to set the time and place for the meeting. We have a lot of neighbors here, and they'd be able to disseminate that information if they knew it.
Okay, does anybody want to set the time?
Thursday night, do we have anyone in the city that knows if we can get this room?
Thursday night is the wine walk downtown, and we also have our downtown public input session, so parking might be at a premium Thursday night.
Okay, Friday.
Saturday mornings, maybe? Ours seem to be well attended when we do.
Abby, how is Friday?
Friday?
Mm-hmm.
The only issue is, Mark Opitz from our staff has been handling this project, and he's not here right now, so I don't know if he's available. I would hope that we could find a time where he would be available to attend. So maybe we can use the registration forms and pull the contact information that we have for people and, try to set something up that way.
Is he like unavailable for weeks at a time, or?
Will he be back?
He's back at work on Thursday, the 3rd, so we would know then. On the other hand, if you didn't need a city staff person there, then you could go ahead and set something.
Yeah, or Monday night before the Public Works Committee? 5:30?
Sorry, I think it would be beneficial to have the meeting once we get the traffic study.
RFC isn't here on Monday night.
Okay.
Okay.
The
how about-
traffic study, we don't know when we're gonna get that, though. So the Plan Commission won't have that either in time?
I can't answer that. I'm not sure when.
Okay, how
I
about
think that they
Saturday?
are-
Would Saturday work for everybody?
But it doesn't work if we're not gonna have the traffic study.
Okay, so,
Yeah, we'll post those.
so,
Planning Commission recommended that the successful TIA be a condition.
Yes,
Mhm.
it's absolutely a condition of approval.
Your staff did some amazing work. You
Mhm.
should look at it.
yeah, so the TIA, it is, dependent on TIA, so I think we could discuss without that. It would be good if we have TIA, but, Sean, is there any way to expedite TIA?
I know.
I think the TIA is proceeding on a pretty normal schedule. It typically takes a couple of months to do this kind of data analysis and produce a report. So that it's being done within a couple of days, I think is pretty typical. I think it's also pretty typical that a GIP is considered with a TIA as a contingency, provided that the recommendations, if there are any, are incorporated in the SIP. That's not abnormal for a site development. I would guess that there aren't going to be any showstoppers here that just are not solvable from this site development in terms of traffic.
Joanna, are you willing to meet with them on Saturday?
Sure.
Okay, so,
I just thought of one more thing about why this room might not work. Starting tomorrow morning, all of the chairs and the tables are going to be taken out of this room, and they are not going to be back in this room until Monday. But we also have other city buildings. You know, senior center might be available, fire station, police, library. So we can work on organizing something and getting the word out.
okay, so plan on Saturday then. So could people raise your hands if you be available on Saturday mornings? Okay, so looks like Saturday morning would work, and you will set the time and we go from there. Dan, you have a comment or?
Yes, I would like to refer to LNO, the question of the distances that we send our notices to. From everything that we've heard tonight, it just is not appropriate. So I'd like to have LNO take a look at that, extending those distances. So if we
Okay,
could
is there a
refer
second?
that.
I will second. Oh.
Okay, so any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. All right. So this meeting will be, Abby is planning it, it will be on,
Jocelyn just checked the library Archer Room schedule, and she said that they are open on Saturday morning.
Oh, good.
So that's
Okay.
looking very good. Saturday, I have a text in to Mark, but I haven't heard back yet. Hopefully, he'll be available to staff it.
okay, so Saturday at 10, is that it?
Yes.
Okay, so Abby will handle it. All right, we are back to the agreements now. The first agreement is stormwater system maintenance
Don't we
agreement.
have to vote on this?
We already did vote on
Did a
it.
roll call. Yeah, that's right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, stormwater management system maintenance agreement with Costco Wholesale, 2150 Deming Way.
Move approval is recommended by Public Works and Finance Committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next one is the stormwater management system maintenance agreement with Gateway Homeowner Association.
Move approval is recommended by Public Works and Finance.
Second.
Any question or discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Item number 3 under agreement is the task order with Strand Associate pursuant to General Engineering Services Agreement and 12/5/17 for Quarry Reservoir improvements.
Move approval is recommended by Public Works and Finance.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. Number 4, Design Engineering Services Agreement with MSA Professional Services Incorporated for Middleton Hills Concentric Pond Dredging.
Move approval is recommended by Stormwater Utility Board.
Second.
Okay, any questions or discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Item number 5, Agreement for Tax Incremental District 3 Assistance with SBH Medicine LLC, Miramont Formal Strategic Behavior Health LLC for Psychiatric Hospital, 3169 Deming Way.
Move approval is recommended by the Finance Committee.
Second.
Any questions or any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Number 6, memorandum of understanding with Larry Wagner for use of airport property for farming operations.
Move approval is recommended by finance as amended.
Abby, would you make sure the door stays open, please?
Okay, all those in favor of the
Wait,
motion
So
say,
just so everybody's aware,
Yeah.
the amendment was to isolate the MOU for 2018 and to put some verbiage in there that would make actually go back to the lease agreement so that we would have a detailed record of what was being leased and what they would farm on it and whatever remuneration there would be for future years.
So is this backwards looking or looking just to set up records going forward?
Well, the MOU is only gonna be for 18, so.
Okay.
So moving forward, we would go back to a more stringent form of agreement.
Thank you for that clarification.
any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Next one is annexation. Notice of intention to circulate a petition of detachment, city attorney. You need to say anything, or they just need to
Well,
make a
very,
motion and
very
go?
quickly, we've already been going a while. We don't do these very often, but my letter sets forth all of the details. So I would expect that if you act affirmatively for the first step, which will be publication of the notice, I take the position you would be also authorizing the mayor to sign it. The second time it would come back would be when the ordinance of detachment comes back, when the sufficient time is passed as indicated in the letter. And then finally, it's still not done until the town of Springfield acts. If they fail to act, the thing fails to happen. So it's a lot of things to do for 1,915 square feet of land, but it's the right thing to do.
So Larry, the motion we would need is a motion for the city to notice this first.
Yeah, to authorize publication.
Authorize publication.
Of the notice of intention.
Okay,
We'll make that motion.
do I have a second?
Yes.
Any questions? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. So we are on to award of bid, court, and professional services. And the first item is Cedar Ridge Neighborhood Resurfacing.
Move approval is recommended by Public Works and Finance.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next one is Quarry Reservoir Membrane Roof Replacement and Repairs.
Move approval is recommended by Public Works and Finance both.
Second?
Any questions? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next one, we are on to miscellaneous. These are the summer hours proposal for city field services.
Move approval is recommended by finance and personnel.
Second.
Anybody wants to explain or say anything? Okay. So then all those in favor of the motion for the summer hours proposal for the city field services, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. We are on to the ordinances, and this will be number 1. Ordinance amending the general implementation plan for the community of Bishop Bay, the Black Line, increasing maximum impervious surface percentage for the manor lot type.
Move approval. This is the second reading, right?
Second
Yep,
reading.
Second reading, yes.
Second.
Any questions or, okay, then all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So this is passed. So the next one is planning and zoning. This is the specific implementation plan modification and design review. This is the Miramont Formal Strategic Behavior Health 3169 Diamond Way.
Move approval, including the contingents. that are
Second.
that are
I'll
recommended.
continue to abstain.
Second.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
Contingencies, yep. Contingents.
Okay, then all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. Resolutions. Resolution 2018-23 Cedar Ridge Neighborhood Resurfacing Final Assessment.
Move approval is recommended by finance.
Need a second?
Second.
Any questions, any comments? So all those in favor of the Cedar Ridge Neighborhood Resurfacing say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next one is Resolution 2018-24 approving the assignment of 2017 year-end fund balances.
Move approval is recommended by finance.
Second.
Any questions, any comments? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so the motion passes unanimously. Now we are on to the committee appointments, and I'm going to read my statement, which I sent to the elder people as well. So, as you know, that I followed the process of selecting citizen nominees for the positions on various committees which terminated at the end of April. To ensure the greatest possible resident participation, the information about this position was widely circulated in the Middleton Times Tribune, the Middleton Review, city's website, and through Notify Me. The nominees were selected as follows. I personally screened all applications to ensure that the applicants were qualified to serve under the relevant provisions of the Chapter 2 of the city ordinances, which is official boards, commissions, and employees. During the past over 6 weeks, I have conversation with nearly all participants at the city hall or in a couple of cases outside. I chose nominees based on qualification for each position, with consideration also given to selections that would result in greater gender equity, diversity of age, education, and experience, so that the city committees, as far as possible, are representative of the city population. To provide an equal opportunity to all, I gave preference to qualified applicants who have not served on any city committees or board and were enthusiastic to serve the city over incumbents who have served multiple terms. The current committee members deserve our praise and gratitude for work well done. Their service to our community is a model for how citizen engagement enhances the function and responsibility of local government to the needs and concerns of a citizen. Their continued engagement with city government and involvement in local issues is most welcome and encouraged. Aside from continuing to attend the city meetings as interested citizens, I am eager to work with them to find ways in which they continue to serve, because these people have long time institutional memory, and we don't want that to go away. We want to work with them and somehow use it. I know the city council does not have any mechanism now, but that is something which we could work on. So that's where we are now. So need a motion to approve? Yes, Howard.
I'm going to move deferral, and with a note that the existing appointments continue until the council resolves this issue.
I'll second.
I'd like to ask a question of Larry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Larry, as council, we can just vote up or down.
Correct.
And so then, if we vote down, then the mayor has every opportunity to then again appoint somebody else, and this process goes on until there is an agreement? Until there's an
Yes.
affirmative vote by the council.
The process is, and I know it's not the same level, but it's exactly how the president appoints justices to the U.S. Supreme Court. If one appointment is rejected, the president just keeps nominating until one is selected, but it's always, in this case, the mayor's choice, not the council's choice. They simply vote the nominees up or down.
Just to follow on, the council's prerogative is to take these in totality or by individual committee. Is that correct?
You could, if you wanted to, as you've done in other matters, move separate consideration of certain ones and then vote those up or down and then wait on other ones, yes.
So we could pick the committees and,
So there's a motion on the floor to defer.
There's a motion on the floor.
okay, anybody has any question or comments?
Motion, Howard, is to defer the entire process?
Yes.
Do we have an idea of when we might look at it again?
Do I have,
I don't know. I guess I'm throwing it out to the.
I would
Higher.
think that an appropriate meeting of the committee of the whole might be a good thing to do.
Yes, Joanna?
So, I feel very uncomfortable with this motion. And for one is, I didn't put my name on the ballot for mayor, Gurdeep did, and he won. So he has every prerogative to appoint the people that he believes are qualified. I don't see anyone on this list that's not qualified to serve. So I don't have any reason to defer this. Now, I might not agree with every one of the appointments, but I don't see any reason not to agree to them. And I think that's our role, is to really sift and winnow if there is an individual that we believe is not qualified to serve on a committee. These are all individuals that want to serve. We should allow them to serve. I understand I have people on this list that have served many years that I wish would have continued, but I also welcome new people to have a voice in our city government as well. So I don't think we should defer. I think we should accept the nominees and vote if you have a particular one that you want the mayor to reconsider. I think that's your prerogative to make that motion, but to defer all of them because of a few, I think is really unrealistic, and it's gonna clog our process for moving forward.
Robert, you had it.
I don't know how this would happen, but is there, there's a danger of expanding committees, because you get to a certain size committee and it gets ridiculous, and you can't get things done on a committee that's 15, 20 people.
Also harder to get a quorum.
No.
Yes.
Thank you. Very good point. However, there are, I really hesitate to get rid of all of the people who have been, I think, well, let me start off
You
saying.
Not 3 points.
I guess what it comes down to is I strongly support volunteerism in any way, shape, or form. That's why I'm up here. And if there is any way that we can keep some of the volunteers that have been here in the past, who have done amazing job, whether it's been 1 year or 10 years, I'm hesitant to lose volunteers. But on the other hand, I've also looked through the entire list of proposed volunteers to come on to these committees, and I am very impressed with them as well. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to get the best of both worlds as much as possible, and can we, in individual circumstances, keep some people who are past volunteers on while adding in some new people that are on this list.
So you're asking us to selectively change ordinances for committees, because that's what's going to take. We're going to have to rewrite the ordinances to expand the committees. So that's what you're in favor of doing?
I was asking the question of what it would entail more than anything else. And thank you. Your answer or your comment or question to me kind of does clarify some things.
Susan?
I'm thinking, I see multiple issues with what has happened. And I've got concerns. I mean, I really strongly believe that people that have been on committees for a long time with institutional memory are a real asset to this city. And especially those who are willing to continue to serve for simply the reason that the mayor asked for, decided to take them off, I have a real problem with. I am not ready tonight. I'm much more in favor of deferring because I'm not ready to go through committee by committee deciding on who should be, whether I want to approve or not approve. So I would like the chance to really go through this document, read the applications. I've gone through them once already, but certainly not in terms of the detail that needs to be if we're going to do it committee by committee. I agree with Robert, increasing sizes of committees is not the answer. A real hard thing is as you increase numbers, it is more difficult to get quorums. We need these committees to keep the city running. And we need people on there with memory. And new people, it takes a long time to learn what's going on and get trained. And the fact that staff didn't have input on these bothers me some.
I don't know what you mean by, I talked to the committee chairs, I talked to the staff.
City staff, did you get their input on each of these committees?
Well, yes, almost everyone. There may be some which I didn't ask, either the staff or the committee chair, or in some cases both. Yes, Joanna.
There's some I know that's not true.
Yeah, it's possible that not everyone was.
You didn't talk to me on conservancy lands, and I know you didn't talk to staff.
I understand everybody's concerns but I think that we have to step back for a moment and understand, whether we like it or not, understand that it is, as Joanna said, it is the mayor's prerogative to nominate anyone he wants to. So it is not incumbent upon him, whether we agree or disagree, to talk to staff. Our job is to vote up or down. That's the only option that we're given.
I have a question for Larry. Larry, what happens, some of these are expiring, what happens to those committees where a member, appointment is expired?
Well, let me answer that in a fairly circular way, which is, about a year and a half ago, I was working on a project to try to standardize all committee appointments because there is a plethora of ways. Some are appointed by the mayor, some are appointed with council approval. A few are selected by the council, as you well know. And the bottom line was, it was such a big project, I gave up because I didn't have a specific charge to get this done. I moved on to other things. So, the normal situation is that if you have someone who is serving a term, they serve a term of, for example, 3 years or until their successor is appointed and qualified. Those magic words. If those magic words apply to every committee in the city, and it probably doesn't, but I think that's a good rule of thumb, that they would continue to serve until a successor is appointed and qualified. That's standard Wisconsin law. Our ordinances don't have to follow it precisely.
So then the
That's
council
rule.
can forever block the mayor's appointees? That doesn't seem right to me.
I'm answering your question, which is, are those people?
That's not like the Supreme Court then.
Sure it is.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Doesn't have to come to a vote
They have
in the Senate.
lifetime of tenure, so that
Yeah.
you could have a vacancy that lasted for years. But with lifetime tenure, obviously, if they don't croak or resign, you won't have this problem.
Emily has a question.
Oh, Emily, go ahead.
I just wanted to make a statement that as the city goes forward over the next 10, 20 years, that we do want to keep the memory of those who have the institutional knowledge, but at the same time somehow bring on board people who want to get involved. I know when I was looking to run for office, someone said, well, join a board, join a committee, get some experience. If there's not vacancies, then we may not be helping people join us in 5 to 10 years. So whether we defer tonight or we move on, I think we need to think about that long-term succession planning and making sure that there is balance and opportunity. And thank you.
Any other comments?
I just have,
Mhm.
I'm very concerned, number one, Mayor Brar, because in your own words, you have discriminated on the basis of gender, and you have discriminated on the basis of age, and you have insulted every long-tenured serving committee member in the city that you have replaced. It is just unmitigated arrogance to take their service and to discard it in the fashion that you have. And I am just apoplectic on how you can sleep at night after having done this.
I just want to say, it's your opinion. I have followed the most logical process. I did not discriminate anyone.
In your own words,
okay,
you
could I please
discriminated
finish now?
against it.
I
In
said
your
that.
own words, you discriminated
Okay,
against gender and age.
let's look at it. What I said. I chose nominees based on qualification for each position, with consideration also given to selection that would result in greater gender equity. In this city, lot of the committees are all males. 50% of the population in this city and on this planet is females. And I wonder that we have been discriminating against females all along. It is about time that they got their right.
That's right.
I mean, you can't just keep on discriminating. That's just, there are so many commissions forever. They never, ever had a female on that commission. Never, ever. Don't you think there are females qualified to serve on those commissions?
Sure I do.
And
But
why
the way to do that is not to discard the long-tenured members of the committees.
They were not.
That's where you fail here.
Nobody was discarded. There's a term.
Oh
when
my
the term-
goodness, I cannot tell you the number of people that have told me that they feel abused by this process that you've gone through.
Well, that's their opinion. I followed the process. The term ends at the. This was the procedure wasn't followed by the previous
You
my
should know better.
predecessors.
You should
And-
do better. The city of Middleton should do better.
Well, I am doing better. That's exactly the city did not follow some of the procedures. I'm following them now. So it is just.
And you don't treat people this way. And that's what it comes down to, is you're treating these people terribly.
I don't know what you mean by treating terribly. I mean, if somebody's term ends and you appoint someone else, you say you're treating them terribly. I don't really, I don't know whatever you mean. So that's pretty, I don't know. I don't think anybody will agree with you on that one. So I have followed the fairest possible system you could have think of. And this process, I wish it was followed all along. And the people just assume that after their term ends, so they don't need to be, they will be just reappointed. This is not the, once, your term ends or whatever.
Let me ask you a question,
Yes, go
Mr.
ahead.
Brar.
Yes,
Ken Potter has been on the Water Resources Board
yes,
probably since its inception.
yes.
Am I now to understand that when his term is expired next year, you will not even consider him because he's been such a long tenured member?
That's not true. I will consider
That's
him.
exactly what you've done to everybody on
No,
these
I have
things.
not. I looked at the qualifications of every person, and then I looked at the qualifications who were there. You should read this statement. For example, one thing which you are not happy about is the golf committee. Look at the applicants on golf committee.
Oh, my goodness. Let's get into that discussion. Let's get into that discussion. You have Terry Turner, who has been the golf committee chair for 18 years. He is a CPA. He's run businesses. There is no one that has ever applied that is more qualified than Terry Turner to be on that committee. It does not matter what you think. The reality is that objectively, he is the most qualified person to be on that committee. Jeff Dunn has been a business owner in Middleton for I don't know how many years. He has been on the committee for 9 years.
Could you stop screaming in my ear, please?
Did you see point number 3 and 4? Did you see that? I mean,
You know what?
you have to give the opportunity to new people as well. And let me show you that well, I don't think I want to bring any people's personal information here, but you know, this is all, you have those applications, you have 8 days to read those applications. And you know, this was more than anybody has done in the past. There were some of the meetings where we didn't even have the any of the applications form for the applicants, and we still voted on that. So I don't know why, you know, we are doing it. Yes, Howard?
I'm referring to your letter of April 21st.
Yes.
Which has 4 paragraphs in it.
Yep.
And I'll particularly ask you a couple questions about paragraph 3
Absolutely.
and paragraph 4.
Mm-hmm.
Was the information or what's stated in paragraph 3 based on any information you found written, or did you develop that information? That's a yes or no.
Well, this is, Larry, what would you, I mean, the mayor is qualified to develop his own criteria.
Okay,
And this is, but I did check with Matt Fleming.
Okay, so you did check it with legal?
Yep.
As to what it said from beginning to end?
Absolutely.
And the same thing for paragraph 4?
Yes.
With Matt?
Checked the whole thing with the legal.
But you wrote how you were going to do this. You did not have any guidelines on how to do it.
Well, there are guidelines provided in this document. This is the powers of the powers and duties of the Wisconsin mayors, and then there are official boards and commissions. Chapter number 2 on the city's ordinances.
So you had reference material where you developed these policies and how you were gonna do that?
And our ordinances state that we should look at.
These are my points to explain it to you, that how I follow the process.
Okay,
That's
what
all.
that's what I was hoping.
And it's
you'd
approved
say.
by the legal folks.
Okay, that's what I was hoping you were gonna say.
Yes.
You know, I have probably been as maybe too vocal or quietly not vocal enough about this process. And there's a number of clauses in both of these things which raised my ire when I got the document,
Mm-hmm.
which is not too long ago.
Mm-hmm. It was on 21st.
First, well, what it does is I understand that the mayor is given great power in deciding what gets appointed and who gets appointed and who does not, subject to the council approval.
Yep,
And the thing to understand is it's subject to council approval.
absolutely.
So, that's why we're here and having trouble with this.
Yep.
I just, you know, the thing that I did today, and I thought, how am I gonna explain my position on this? What can I say? What can I prove that, I think is a little skewed? And it starts out in paragraph 3, based on qualifications. Great. You got an opportunity, you took time, you talked to all of the applicants. I have not seen, but I did ask a week ago for copies of the applicants that were not approved or were not accepted.
And you got those copies?
Where are they?
Mike Davis, I would still have that email. He sent you that electronic copy of all those people, and George got those copies too at the same time.
He sent them to me, who asked as an open records request,
That's the only way
and
they
to
got 'em.
George
Well,
Spence.
whoever asked, they were given that copy.
I didn't get them, so we'll
Okay,
settle.
well, talk to Mike.
Excuse me, Pradeep.
Mm-hmm.
We'll settle with the fact that I didn't get them, okay? And I'm curious as to, on one side of the ledger, you have got a list of people who you feel are qualified for things, and then there are other people in the community, residences that have been here for maybe months, maybe weeks, maybe years, who did not get appointed to something. Okay? Are we okay so far?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
What?
I sat down and I went through all of the appointments that you made
Mm-hmm,
based on education.
mm-hmm.
Okay? Just a hint, I won't go through the whole thing, I think you'll get my point.
Not all of them are PhDs, yes, that's true. But there may be more of them.
There's only 4 that are PhDs.
Okay,
There are 9 Bachelor of Science degree people,
mm-hmm,
2 master's degree sciences. BAs, there's 5, 10, 13 of them. I'll go down the list, there's a lawyer, which is a great thing. PhDs, there's 4 of them. Masters, there's 3 of them. There's 1 high school graduate,
mm-hmm.
and luckily 4 high school appointments. Now, I live in a town, I've been here a lot longer than you have.
That's
And
true.
I've always viewed this community as one of anchored well, okay? The people are good, they're honest, they're hardworking people. A lot of them get up in the morning and they pack a lunch, okay? And some of them may even take a bus ride to their job, okay? I don't detect a lot of people in this list when I see 4 PhDs and 13 bachelor things on appointments for committees and commissions. I see a lot of academic people being appointed to our committees and commissions. I also understand that that's your perspective on how this ought to be done. What you've got to understand is, we've got a perspective as well.
Absolutely.
Done.
Absolutely. And by the way, I looked at those who had applied, and I have all these applications here, along with all the notes. You could ask question about any one of them.
You don't have to defend yourself.
Yes.
Motion for deferral, right?
So there's a motion to defer, and we could also, maybe there's 1 or 2 committees which people.
There's a
feel
motion for
very-
deferral. I'm
Yes,
gonna call a motion.
I know, I know.
Call a motion.
I know I still have I have the opportunity to speak.
Not much.
Yes. So, so we have options that there's a motion on the floor that,
Right.
to defer it, but by defeating this motion, we could also vote on the committees, each committee or multiple committees, we could ask them, so there would be not a issue. So let's have a roll call vote, Lori, so motion is to defer, so.
Before we do that, I want to ask the question one more time. Is there if we vote to defer, what is the impetus to bring us back to the table?
Yeah, I could call a committee of the whole meeting where we could discuss the various issues among the whole council.
Okay.
I would be willing to do that.
But these are still my appointments, and
Right.
that's what it is.
Right, well, I think it would give a chance for us to give more input.
Well, okay,
Also give a chance for Emily to get some earplugs.
Thank you.
okay,
Thought she was
so,
gonna say, I'm sorry, I
any
didn't
other
hear you.
questions?
'cause-
No.
Does that clarify you?
It does.
Okay, so the motion is to defer, and let's have a roll call vote, Lori.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion is to defer.
Move we adjourn.
Need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, so all those in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.